Hey guys, it's Fritz. Welcome back to Maker Pen Advanced Tubing, and today we are going to be learning how to make chandeliers. So let's get right to it. Now for the first step of making any type of chain, you're going to want to go to your settings. Make sure to have your tube height ratio on 100%, your tube size on 4 or 2. I usually keep mine on 2. Then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to keep your facets on 6, right there. Smooth tubes off, and that's it. Now go on to the first page, and you're going to want to have uniform shapes on, your position snap on 1, and the rest just like this, all on. And now let's get to it. Now for this part, it doesn't really matter how big it is, just depending on your tube size. With mine, I'm currently on 2 centimeter. You're going to want to fully drag it right across, just like this, about 5 to 7 ticks right there. Then you're going to want to connect the tube right here and drag it strictly down, just at a 90-degree angle or 45, just like that. And then you're going to want to grab it again, drag it straight down, a little bit longer than the top tube. So how you see is this to there. You're going to want to make sure this is at least maybe 10 to 11 to 12 ticks long. So just about there. Right there is good. So now you want to grab it again and try to match it up exactly like with these top 2 hitches right there. You're going to want to go 1, 2, just like that, and then right across. Right there would be good. You can manipulate it too. If you do mess up, don't be scared like there I just messed up. And now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to clone, mirror that, and there you go. You have your first chain. Now let's get to step 2, which is going to be cloning and making it look nice. Okay, so first off, we're going to want to go into our Maker Pen, clone, make sure that's on, select this, and we're going to want to clone it straight up. But you see that little hitch right there where it has a little gap right in between? You're going to want to let it go there so it's still connected like an actual chain would be. Then you're going to want to click this green one once. It'll turn it in a 45 degree, and there you go. Now, what you could do is you could press select tool again, select that bottom one right there, clone, and clone it straight down, and there you go. Now, you could do this a desired amount of times. Usually I have maybe 5 to 6 chains on mine. That'll actually make it look a little bit more fancy, just like that. And now, what we could do from here is we could add on to the top, and then finally get to our fancy chandelier. Now that we have our chain fully done, we're going to want to go to our pages again in settings, same from tubing. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to have it on 6 facet or 5 facet, doesn't really matter. Right now we are going to be making the top part that hangs off the ceiling and connects to it. So we're going to want to have a little bit bigger this time, maybe on 8 size tubing or 4, depending on whatever you want. And then we're going to want to have smooth tube as optional, tube height ratio on 100. Tube facet 6, tube analog mode on brush stroke. Gonna want to go back to the front page, and we're gonna want to have our position snap on 1. Gonna have a rotation snap on 0.5, uniform shapes on, and that's all the settings. Copy these right here. Copy all these, and these don't really matter. Now let's get right to it. Now for these, I'm going to be using a side view. So what we're going to do, right, is we're going to hold down the trigger right in the same spot. So we're going to hold it still, just hold down the trigger. Then what we're going to do from there is we're going to lightly press the trigger when it lines up exactly like this, so it's flat. And that will allow it to give us that long piece of tube. Now, this is optional, but you can add on different things like this. So you have little ones, and then it goes down one more time, just like that. And there we can have it just exactly like that. Now, this could all depend on you. So if you want to make it longer, if you want to have it short a little bit like this, then that's completely fine. This is just going to be hanging off the ceiling, so it's not as important. But yeah, this is all we need to do. Now let's connect it with our chain. And here's what it's going to look like with the chain fully connected and the little stub connected too. So, once those are merged, move it off to the side, and let's get started with the movement onto our chandelier. So, go to settings, make sure to select tubing, and for this you're going to want to select any material you would like that would look fancy on a chandelier. Personally, what I would use is a light tone purple, so maybe let's go shiny metal, Then we'll go to this page and we'll go over to maybe lilac right here, or maybe even something darker, just like this. You could just straight up use silver. Silver always never fails us, and it'll look amazing at all times. Now, let's head to settings. For me personally, I like to have my tube facet on the second page to 4. Like to have my tube height ratio on 100 or 75. Use your tube analog mode on brush stroke. Tube size on 8. Smooth tubes off for this. Make sure your drag select size is on medium. Then tube height ratio on 100%. Now, let's go back to first page. Make sure to have your position snap on 1. That is very important. Make sure your rotation snap is on 5. Make sure your uniform shapes is on at all times. Snap to center is on. And one more thing, on second page, connect nearby tubes, make sure that is on. And that is it. Now let's get started. Now, for this part, it's really good to have a wall beside you, a straight flat wall, make sure it's on grid, and it will always help you with also making sure it's on grid, and making sure that it's straight edged and aligned at all times. Now, let's get started with this. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to straight up grab a 4-facet tube, like we created. We're going to want to line it up exactly with the wall, right here, and we're going to want to hold down the trigger fully. Just like that, it'll create your dead zone for your first ever tube mark. That will be your first edge on the top of the chandelier. Now, let's head on to part 2, which will be connecting the tube. Make sure it's straight edged aligned here. You could line up exactly like I am, right up against the wall, and make sure it's straight edged aligned, just like that. And drag it all the way just to the side, just like that. Now, keep on going until it hits down like a little S-curve, right into a little edge. So, let's continue that. Just down there. Then we're going to continue, I'd say about 4 more times. Just like that. Just make sure it's nice and curved so it doesn't look a little bit wonky. Now, when you're about 5 to 6 ticks in, what you could do is you could also start curling it in, and then you could curl it out again one more time. Just to make sure that it looks nice, almost like a champagne glass. It could curl out and then in and then out again, so it looks really nice. Now let's get to that. I'm going to zoom out a little bit and make sure it looks all nice for you guys. Alright, so once we get to here, again, we're going to want to connect it straight from here. As we said, just make sure you're in the edit quick. Then we're going to want to start going down like this. Just one more time. Just like that. And it doesn't always have to be exactly the same shape. Like this one's a little bit smaller. Start making it a little bit smaller too. Just like that. Down once more. And then down once more again. There we have it. Just like that. Now, with this shape, we could also manipulate it and make it a little bit more nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring this shape a little bit more closer, just like that. Bring this out a little bit. Bring this closer down here. Bring this over here a little bit more. Grab this joint up here. Oh, wrong joint. Grab this top joint. Bring it down with the other ones. And this one is going to connect up. Like that. And there we have it. Now let's get into the cloning stage and then we'll finish it off. Now let's get right to it. Now, with this part, once again, we're going to want to make sure that we are in the clone tool. Select clone on this, and we're going to want to mirror clone that over once. Now, we're going to want to drag it closer into itself, just like that. And now, we're going to want to press this select tool, select the other side, make sure they're both selected. Then we're going to want to press clone. And if you see that little gray square in the middle, you're going to want to click the middle. Then, what you're going to want to do is rotate tool. Click this green once to go 45 degrees. And there we go. We're going to have that direct middle point, just like that. Now, it's your choice if you want to clone it in once more and then get it a little bit more smaller. Just, make it more fancy. But this is about it. Now, let's get on to the last part. Now, for the last part, personally, what we're going to do is we're going to want to go into colors. we're going to want to go back and we're going to want to select some amethyst or something dark like a purple for the crystals and stuff that are going to be placed inside, or candles or whatever you want. Now we're going to want to go over to materials, make sure it's shiny metal or anything else that kind of metal. We could use grip tape, or we could use other things that are kind of more dull materials too, but personally I like using shiny metal. Now make sure tube is selected, go over to settings, make sure your tube size is on 1, then go over to your second page, make sure your tube height ratio is on 100, your tube facets on 6, and make sure smooth tubes is on or off, depending on whatever you want to do. For this time, I'm going to use it off. Now, you're going to want to go to first page, position snap on 5 this time, then rotation snap on 5, uniform shapes on. Now that's all we're going to need. Now let's get right to it. Now this part may get a little bit more complicated, so let's grab our maker pen. Make sure you have that little 6-sided little pentagon. Make sure to start off with it on the top. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to attemptly drag it all the way down to some point where you think that the end of your chandelier would be. Or you could even drag it down a little bit more. So let's drag it down to right there. Now, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go back in our maker pen, go to our position snap, and select it onto 1. Now that we're on 1 select, we're going to want to grab here, right on the edge of that, we're going to want to drag it down, and then so it's at a 45. Then we're going to want to drag it down one more time, just like that. Drag it inwards, and then up. Oops. Connect to those tubes, remember, all the way up. There we go. Just so it's all aligned in one straight line. And then what you could do from here is you could clone this over once, just like that, and then you could select 2, just like you did before. Select that little gray square, and then clone it over. Just like that. And there we have it, the 3 main components that we'll need right here. We have the chandelier base, the crystal and the decorations, and then we have the chains and handles. So, from here what we're going to want to do is take out our maker pen, press the move tool, make sure we put this right here, and make sure that this, the decorations, is hanging from the direct middle of inside the chandelier. Just like that. Put it all the way down, just so it's not showing. Now, for the chain, make sure that it's directly lined up with the center of the chandelier, and hang it right on the middle. And there we have it. A nice looking chandelier that we could use for almost anything. We could use it for games that are ancient. We could use other things like fancy hotels or, whatever you want to build. So there we have it. I hope you guys all enjoyed. Have a good day. Like, subscribe, do whatever you want. I don't really care. But have a good day.